Thank you, Joel. That was such a fantastic panel. And from that, we're going to be moving on to what I think is going to be a very fun, entertaining, and insightful conversation with some people that I consider, and many of us consider, Birmingham legends. PJ Ellis, Team Andrews. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Hello.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great to have you guys on the show today. I mean, you guys are one of those people that we all look up to as you know, adopted Brummers in my case.
Very kind.
You know, you've done so much for the city and you've done so much as well in your individual businesses. But I think one of the things that everybody just wants to find out about is the relationship between you guys. How did that get started?
Well,
I thought you wanted it to be fun.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
it's a platonic relationship. We are best buds. But yeah, we've just argued about that actually over coffee. We can't agree actually what that looks like. I think it was a fish finger sandwich at Utopia. He thinks it was a fish supper at San Carlo. I know how the conversation started at least, and then we can get to potentially where we met.
I think we're going to agree that there was fish involved.
Yeah.
So
There
that's
was food.
what
There was food involved.
Definitely food.
Definitely.
Can't you tell?
So what was the thing that you know got that attraction started? How did that conversation evolve?
Can I pick that one up?
Yeah, go, yeah.
So, long story cut short, I'd stumbled across this sort of charity, Harry Moseley. I don't know whether the Help Harry, Help Others charity. In fact, it wasn't even a real charity back then. It was just this poor boy that had a brain tumour. And I followed his journey, and I wanted to do something to help. All of a sudden, I thought I'd do a golf day or something. And it just wasn't going to happen. You know, the response was amazing. The lad passed away, unfortunately, and I didn't know what to do. I was a bit lost, sort of thing. And I just reached out to Facebook, and like Tim has done ever since, you know, pretty selfless in his approach and always willing to help people. He was the only one that put his hand up, really, and he went from there. Literally, I remember him saying, "I'll call you tomorrow." Now, our relationship has been pretty defined by this, in that I'm rubbish on the phone. I don't really like taking calls and stuff, whereas Tim's always on the phone. He'll always try and call me, and I've missed his call and stuff. And I remember walking past Wagamama's in Birmingham City Centre. I was a lawyer at the time, and this Tim Andrews was going to phone me. And by then, I'd had like 24 hours to look at what he was doing, and he was this big business mogul in Birmingham, and I was really like, wow. And he called me, and I was like really nervous. And I was like, should I take the call? And it's a bit of a sliding doors moment, because I nearly didn't. But I did, and the rest is history. But yeah, we met the next day, but I'll leave that to Tim to tell you where we met, because as I said, we're not entirely too sure ourselves.
Fantastic. And I'd like to hear from you, Tim, in terms of when that post went out and you saw it, what was the thing that originally drew you to it?
Well, it's all about helping others. One thing about Birmingham is there's so many people. You reach out when you need some help. Collaboration is number one, I think.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so I reached out to PJ, and I said, well, I'll help you with, I'll donate my boat for a day as a prize, you know, to raise some money. One of the things that the difficult thing about raising money for charity is you need experiences, gone are the days where you have like a signed football shirt, you know, that you need experiences, and I felt that a day on the boat would be a great experience for Brummies, landlocked Brummies, to have a day on the water and go to a nice restaurant. And so I reached out, and the rest is history. I actually got involved in organising the event, which turned out to be actually a big charity gala event at the ICC. We sold out 1,200 people.
That was
I don't think the ICC has ever sold out, actually.
It was amazing.
Maybe a few times since, but it was the first time we'd ever sold out, and we filled the room. And largely because, you know, it's an organisation. It was a cause that touched many people's hearts. But it was so great to be involved in that. We did it 2 years, and the charity's still going now, which is now a charity. It was
still doing the event as well, I believe.
They're still doing the event, but
amazing.
the charity itself became a charity when we were involved, and that's got us together as people call us the fat Ant and Deck.
But he's losing weight at the moment, and I'm finding it.
Yeah, but I'm going to come back into that relationship a bit more. But I think you touched on something that is very important that we need to talk about. That, you know, selfless nature of that represents the culture of Birmingham. I wanted to dig into, and I'd like to hear from both of you on this. What does it mean to be a Brummie? I mean, for a lot of people, you know, there are many different experiences by which they could describe that, you know, but I'd like to hear from you guys. You've touched on that, you know, willingness to help other people, but dig into that a little bit more.
I want to go back, actually, when I was a kid, growing up. we used to go caravan running at weekends, and I used to tell people, "Oh, I'm from Birmingham," and they go, "Oh, what's that like to live in?" You know, and it was actually a place where I was so fond of it, but actually anybody outside of Birmingham always looked with a slight distaste towards it and questioned why I lived there. And genuinely, what's wrong with it? You know, and until this day, and obviously the city has grown in itself and has become a bit more sexy and has become a place where people want to live now. But you know, going back to it's the people. It's not the buildings. It's the people. It's the camaraderie, the helpful nature of people. I think that Brummy. You know, there's a reason why the heart was in the Birmingham City Council logo all those years ago. You know, it is the heart of the UK. But actually, there's no bigger hearts, I don't think, than Brummy hearts.
Absolutely, wouldn't agree more.
Yeah, 100%. I can't really expand on that much other than it was quite interesting when, I'm sure we'll come on to this, but when me and Tim and another chap set LoveBrum up, we had a call from the Cabinet Office about 2 years into the journey to say, actually, we think we've been looking at LoveBrum and what it does within the communities, etc. I think we could do that across the UK, you know, Love London, I think there is a Love Manchester and a Love Cornwall. It's got nothing to do with us. But at that point, it was very much, we were reluctant, if that's the right word, for us to do it. A, because we were doing it voluntarily and we just didn't have the time. But B, it was because we weren't sure, and I don't want to offend any other communities, but we weren't sure what other cities were like. Absolutely. Birmingham is, you know, I've lived in London, and it's very different to Birmingham. I'm not saying it's worse or better. I mean, I do prefer Birmingham, but Birmingham, I see it as a village. Everyone's out there looking out for one another. I think there are pockets of Birmingham that need support, and I think there are people that are doing that. And I think, you know, when we didn't push Cabinet Office back, we just said, look, we're just not ready to do that. But it was driven by the fact that we just feel that Birmingham, certainly I do, that is just slightly different to other cities that I've experienced before.
I had a guy ask me to start up Love Stoke, help him start Love Stoke.
There we go.
No.
But he'll go on and do brilliant things in Stoke, I would imagine, you know. But yeah, Birmingham is just full of brilliant people. I think, you know, there's no denying that actually just through the stuff that we do with LoveBrum, it showcases, you know, these brilliant projects that are led by, you know, volunteer led by people that are wanting to make change within the communities that they serve. And they're doing it off their own back. They're doing it in their own time.
Absolutely.
You know, they're doing it at night. You know, and it's just like, wow, the fabric of that. You know, that underpins everything that this city does.
Strong.
It's just amazing, yeah.
And I want to come back to one of the things that Tim said earlier, from my personal experience, because I only came into Birmingham at the start of 2021, interestingly, and you know, coming in, that collaborative spirit, that was the very first thing that jumped at me. Everybody was so willing to introduce you to everybody and help you along and point you to where the resources are. And I think that is such a powerful thing, that collaborative spirit that sits at the very heart of the city. And, you know, it's with every single person that you come across.
Yeah. It's the culture of Birmingham that's been bred into the city, you know, by our past generations is, I think, second to none. I don't think any other city can match it.
Absolutely. So you touched on LoveBrum a little bit, and I don't want to presume that everybody that's watching us actually knows what LoveBrum is. So I'd like you guys to talk a bit about what LoveBrum is, why you started it, the work that it does, and then we'll go a little bit deeper thereafter.
I think the bit that I said about me growing up, saying I was from Birmingham, that was the sort of the real sort of, I want to show Birmingham I want to show people what Birmingham's all about, and I think it's fair to say when I was growing up, the civic pride wasn't in the city that it is today, and we felt when we got together, this is a few years into our friendship, but we felt that the civic pride piece it wasn't there as it should be. You know, there's all this great stuff that the city's producing and has produced over the years, you know, inventions that have changed our world. But actually, people of Birmingham don't really believe. We're very deprecating in our approach. And I just felt that the best way of reopening up that civic pride piece and building on that is actually focus on the people. And that's what LoveBrum does. It, you know, as Pete says, it focuses on all these organisations that are doing great work, and just by you know, presenting them to the rest of Birmingham, we can actually present ourselves to the rest of the world. You know, by being proud of where we've come from and proud of what's happening in our city right now. And LoveBrum is, you know, one of many organisations on that civic pride piece.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, and I'm very proud to be part of that, you know, that growth in our city. And I do believe LoveBrum has played a part in that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And PJ?
I'd have to agree with Tim. I think we started this conversation at a very similar time. I feel that other projects were thinking about having that conversation as well, because not long after we went to the city and asked whether the city wanted something like LoveBrum, because it's obviously developed over the years. It wasn't soon after that we saw the likes of I Choose Birmingham, Independent Birmingham, Be Birmingham, all this sort of stuff. So it was this sort of period of renaissance where there was like a revolution around civic pride and people beating their chest around, actually, we're proud to be Birmingham. And it's not necessarily all about the history. It is embedded with some brilliant stories, and you know, you see the standard facts about we've got more canals than Venice and all that, but actually it's about the people and the future of Birmingham as well, not just the legacy that's gone, it's the legacy that we're about to create. And I think that is the stuff that really excited me and Tim and Dave. And it actually was quite interesting because sorry to knock you there. Working out, mate, looking good. I think it was interesting where it came from as well, because Tim had been out running and on a bike ride, correct me if I'm wrong. We did this bike ride actually for that Harry Moseley charity. Tim organised it. We went from Switzerland all the way back to Birmingham, you know, 7 countries in 7 days. I actually did it, can you imagine? Unbelievable. Wow. I was good on the flats, no good on the hills.
3 stone ago.
Yeah, 4 stone ago I did it, yeah. But he got talking to another guy, Dave McLean, about this and that. I started talking to my brother-in-law, and he was talking a bit more about, you know, there's got to be a way of better aligning business sort of CSR strategies with community-based projects. Tim was talking about this civic pride stuff. So it actually, you know, a few pints later at Old Contemptibles, this thing was born. It was, you know, it was a marriage of let's celebrate the people behind the projects. Let's try and restore this civic pride. Let's connect businesses with charities and community groups better than they are at the moment. And all of a sudden, this thing happened, which was just, it was just amazing. Absolutely. You know, I still feel really sort of gets me going thinking about that conversation now and all the stuff that's gone on since. I'm very proud
and let's not forget, it's these small charities that often get missed and forgotten.
100%.
You know, we are blessed as a city with some very large, very good charities.
Yeah.
But of course, the corporate world, they go to those naturally because they know about it and they've heard about it.
Yeah.
But a lot of these large organisations have got like 15 full-time fundraisers, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whereas these small organisations, they've not even got a fundraiser on board, you know. They're specialists in the service that they provide, but they don't really understand how to fundraise and that route to the corporate world, you know. So that's where LoveBrum is. We're a charity for charities. So.
A charity for charities, I love it.
I like it.
And when you look at how the city has evolved over the years, and even how, you know, that civic pride piece of the conversation has evolved compared to what used to be and what is now, what do you say to yourself when you look back?
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, it has evolved over quite a long period of time, and obviously I'm not that old, am I? But it has evolved over you know, during my generation. And I look back as to where we were, that rickety old steel bridge over Digbeth, and look to where we are now as a city. You know, the fabric of a city has completely changed, just not far from here, you know, with the Paradise and linking up the Brindley Place to Colmore Road. The city centre is something quite special. But all this is all quite fabricated. It's quite, underneath that skin, there's a lot of hurt in the city. There's a lot of pain points, and there's a lot of areas where we need more investment. We need, you know, we top so many charts that we shouldn't be topping, you know, in our youth growing up. You know, so there's a lot of pain points in the city. So let's not get carried away that the city's this fantastic. It's hurting in many places, like many other large cities. Let's not forget that. You know, there's no doubt about it. This is still the best city in the world, in my opinion. But let's not get carried away with it. You know, and it needs these organisations and needs organisations like LoveBrum in order to raise money and to give back to society that needs it more.
100%.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
No, I was just, it's almost like, you know, just jumping on what Tim said. I think there is a lot to be done still. Absolutely. I really do think that. But I think the confidence that I have now in the city to address those things that need doing is higher than it was 10 years ago. I think people are popping up little bits of work and projects here and there to address. I mean, Tim's involved with a homeless charity as well called Reconnected that does brilliant things for our homeless community. We've just walked through Pigeon Park, and there's another local charity called Let's Feed Brum that was born out of a church sort of soup kitchen sort of project that was feeding and clothing, is that the word? You know, hundreds of people it looked like. So I think people are more willing to respond. I think access to grants could be better. I think that there needs to be a piece. I don't want this to become political, but I think the government will start doing more around the third sector, I'd like to think, because they are delivering some very important and vital projects.
Absolutely.
And if we're able to get more projects around funding around capacity or whatever it might be, I think we'd be in a much better place. We still see projects doing things that are amazing, but then just fall away because of lack of support, etc.
Those are very, very important subject matters that you both have touched on around what still needs to be done in the city. So, because on the one hand, we're seeing all this massive development around the city centre and all these global corporations coming to set up shop here. And on the other hand, we still have these challenges. So from the vantage point where you guys sit, I want you to touch a bit on what you think, how we can better bridge the gap between, you know, all of that value that big business brings into the city and the existing challenges that the city still has, and how do we bridge that gap? What more can businesses do?
Well, obviously, LoveBrum's trying to bridge that gap. We need to do more, and actually, you know, when you think about what money we do give away, we have so much potential. It's untrue, but obviously, we need more support. It is about connecting the two dots, and LoveBrum is already there. It's an existing organisation that just needs more funding to enable to do more work, and I think that's the bit that's missing. You know, LoveBrum needs that needs support, needs more financial support from the corporate sector, but actually also government as well. You know, we touch on these organisations that are doing great things, but some of them do fall away. The very sad fact is, government doesn't even know about some of these that exist. You know. So LoveBrum is trying to put them on the map, give them that platform in order to grow, to shout about what they do. And we just need, we personally need more support, more financial support to enable us to continue to do that great work that we've started and set out to do. Yeah,
we see sort of projects happen that are doing the things that we've probably already done and are doing, and the projects that are, you know, a lot of money are spent pushing you know, pushing the dial, is that the right term, around Birmingham and what Birmingham's all about. But actually, there is already a voice that's happening. It already exists with LoveBrum. So if we were able to sort of find even more money, we'd be able to do the stuff that I know would suit a lot of people's agenda around legacy. The Commonwealth Games thing is really important. I'm really looking forward to seeing where that money goes, because I think, I mean, it could make a massive difference with the amount of money, the overspend or the underspend or whatever it was. And, you know, if LoveBrum was able to sort of tap into some of that money, genuinely, as Tim said, we have a long list of brilliant projects in Birmingham that are genuinely producing, you know, or delivering projects that have tangible outcomes within their communities, real physical things that you can see. You know, we just need more money.
Talk about pride. I mean, I was brilliant with pride when the Commonwealth Games was on. It's such an amazing spectacle.
We all love that.
Incredible. Amazing spectacle. I was interviewed on BBC actually on when the ladies won the cup final football, and I was on the balcony overlooking the square. And it was such an amazing. Just the city was just splashed with colour. It was so cool, and that's what we want. We want the city to be a bit more like that, you know. But of course, that was not real. You know, it was dressed up for the occasion, you know. But we want to see more of those things come into our city. Yeah. And of course, the more good work that people like LoveBrum doing, the more likelihood is that we'll get to repeat that.
Fantastic. I do want to touch on, you know, further on the business relationship that you've got. But before we get into that, I do know as well, because both of you are looked at as you know, some of the industry leaders, particularly in the third sector in the region as well. And we might have some of those people running smaller charities and projects and social impact programs that are watching this. If you were to, you know, say a thing or two words of advice in terms of how to make sure that from start you are putting your project in a sustainable path, what would that piece of advice be?
How long have we got?
You got a minute.
I get asked this a lot actually, and I'll try and think about what our journey was like. And I think the advice would be, try not to procrastinate. It doesn't really matter what the logo looks like or what the website looks like. If you believe in a project, go and get it done. We've already touched upon it. Ask for help. Don't be scared. I think it was Tim that actually said to me, because I was quite a proud guy, PJ, you've got to ask for help more. You ask it, you genuinely get it. Generally get it. I think also just look for that sort of skill-based volunteering experience. You might know the project through and through, how to get to those people that you want to serve, but actually you might not know how to file an account with Companies House or whatever it might be, or HMRC. You might not be able to, I don't know what it might be, do your social media.
There's so many moving parts.
Yeah, we had some real good service patrons at the start of this journey that helped us with PR, social media, accounting, all that sort of stuff. And getting that sort of board that certainly the charity couldn't afford, I hate that term, but do you know what I mean, from the start was really, really powerful for us to really accelerate through the gears.
Fantastic. The support is there, the opportunities are there. Reach out, leverage, and make sure that you be sustainable with charities.
Tim's LinkedIn messages.
I can imagine. Before we go, because we're running out of time, I want to touch on the importance of relationships, particularly in business, in charities. You guys typify, what that could potentially mean, both in terms of the work that you did together and how you encourage other people to reach out. But oftentimes I think we get carried away with the digital, the online, all the fancy stuff, and forget that, it's all about people. So talk to me about the importance of relationship in building successful businesses.
Well, I think one of the main ingredients for that success is authenticity.
Absolutely.
Doing what you say you're going to do. Don't say I'll do something and then not deliver. It's just a little pet hate of mine. People who do say, and you do get a lot of people going, I'll do that, and then
never show up.
They're not answering the phone. They never show up. So for me, it's all about authenticity. It's about you as a person, and it's one of my biggest drivers. And I think that's, for me, relationships is built on being honest.
Fantastic. PJ?
Trust. I mean, I trust him implicitly. I think we were, without knowing, we were probably perfect combo because we're very different as well. I'm getting more like Tim, I think. When I first met Tim, I was a solicitor. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to be more like Tim. We had a little saying in the house, be more Tim. So he really helped me with my journey, but that journey has been based on trust. We care for one another. And also, I know that he does the things that I can't do, and I'm sure I do the things that he doesn't want to do or can't do. So we work really well. He's the face, I'm the machine at times. And that worked really well at the start because Tim was fundamental in going out and reaching into his network to get us the money that we needed, whilst I was, look, every lawyer just fills the forms in, don't they, and all the rest. So
great. I love the way he thinks he's the machine.
No, you know what I mean. I meant like what is it, the monkey in the wheelhouse or something. Yeah. But equally, hard work. There was. I remember when the lottery supported us. Initially, it was like, we're going to give you loads of money because we can't get to the projects that you are getting to on the ground. But actually, after our 6th or 7th meeting, me and Tim turning up, having emailed at 3 a.m. in the morning and stuff like that, they realised that, it wasn't sustainable to continue putting the graft in that we were. And they wanted to give us the money to make it more sustainable so we could invest in infrastructure. So I think, it's a balance of working hard, knowing that you're
having the dream as well.
Having the dream and working towards it, and trusting one another along the way.
Fantastic. I think you couldn't have said it better. That is so important, both on the subject matter of trust and on the subject matter of authenticity. It will bring people together, whether they're suppliers or customers or staff members or board members. It is very important that those ingredients are there because that's what makes for successful businesses. Before I let you go, what does the future of Birmingham look like when you dream?
Wow.
Birmingham City back in the Premier League for one.
Tim's going to be running.
That's a good start.
What does it look like?
Tim's CEO of Blues.
Yeah, I'd love to see our football team. And actually, joking apart, our city needs, Manchester. They've got 2 very successful football teams in their city. We need to have the same, and and that brings all sorts of outward investment back into our city. Puts our city on the map, every single week. So for me, that it has to be, that's a dream of mine to get our team or my team our team back into the Premier League to put Birmingham back on the map. And
certainly
it's the
helps.
team that carries our city's name at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
No offence to
Right.
Aston Villa fans.
Go for it, PJ.
I think for me, exactly, I'm with Tim. I want the Blues back in the Premier League. I think it does so much for us. But as a city, I think, personally, I'm hearing more Birmingham accents across the radio and different forms of media. You know, Alison Hammond and, you know, he's championing the way forward for Brummies, which wasn't the case 10 years ago. It just wasn't the case. You'd have to have a northern accent to go into radio and stuff. So I want to see more of that. I want to see more of Birmingham represented across media. And I want to see people coming back. You know, I remember this campaign that me and Tim wanted to do, go on the train station and hand out cups of coffee saying you're going the wrong way when people go into London. You know, the opportunities lie right here, and I want people to start realising that, and I think people do more and
I
more.
think making Birmingham sexy again is the...
He loves that word. He said that twice. So I love it.
We're definitely on the way.
I'm not the one to do that.
But thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the show. I think it has been really remarkable. On behalf of, you know, everyone watching, the charities, the people that they support, and everyone that has just been inspired by your story, like I have. Thank you very much for all that you do for the city.
Thank you. Thanks for
All right, thanks for coming on the show. Thank you, everyone, for joining in this session. We're not done yet. We're going to have the news bulletins right after now. And thereafter, Carl is at Unity Trust Bank talking about some of the interesting things that they've been up to. Stay tuned.